Here we have a feminist writer who's put out because her fellow feminists don't recognize her genius. So now she has an issue with modern writing and the publishing industry, right? And her name is fictionesque. I'm going to get it right. Fictionesque. Since you're a feminist, you can only write bigoted propaganda against men. There can never be any depth to your writing. So it isn't worthwhile anyway. But anyway, let's get into the beginning and see what she has to say.
Filming this totally spur of the moment in response to a YouTube video I just saw that pretty much said everything that I have wanted to say on a subject that had been making me immensely paranoid and stressed out for years now.
You have no excuse to be stressed out. Women have no issues. You're a modern day woman in a first world country. You have zero issues. So you have no reason to feel stress.
The video is called Why I Hate Most Contemporary Novels.
Yeah. Yeah. She also wrote, I responded to this woman, Jumi Kim, yesterday, and she complained. Yeah, she actually had a title saying modern feminism is the problem, right? So she's actually calling out feminism. But of course, she has to put in uh, modern so she doesn't have to expose the whole movement for what it is, right?
And it's by Yumi 101 or Yumi 101. I'm sorry if I'm getting the pronunciation wrong. And she mentions something along the lines of just kind of giving up on reading a lot of recently published literature.
Well, the thing is, the literature she's reading is feminist. She could just ignore that and go for the new stuff that isn't a hate movement, that isn't bigoted propaganda.
I don't remember exactly what her personal cutoff point is for it. For me, I've mentioned before on this channel, my personal cutoff point has been around 2015. I think that the moment social media started getting really big is when the problems that she talks about in that video.
But it's not social media. Social media is dominated by feminist, far right, authoritarian bigots. That's what you are, by the way, uh, uh, fictionesque. You're a feminist, so you are not left wing. You are far right, and you're a bigot. And so it's not the platforms that are the issue, it's who took over them.
Started really to proliferate. And I think you should watch the whole video itself because it covers so much ground. It talks about myopia in contemporary literature. So literature only being published from people who have these very kind of sheltered, limited worldviews, or
Well, that would be you. So your issue is that they just didn't accept you. They didn't give your writings accolades. Right.
or who only are allowed to have a certain set of opinions on certain issues, and definitely a certain brand of, she describes this as wokeness.
Yeah, that's a bullshit term. It's a feminist. Woke is just feminist. That's what you are. Fictionesque. And since you're a feminist, you do have a limited myopic worldview. You do have a set of beliefs. An inaccurate set of beliefs, but you have them. So you've got to own that.
have described this on my channel as like woke asterisk, because in my opinion, like, as a left-leaning person,
You're not left-leaning. Feminism is a far-right hate movement. You are a far-right person trying to disguise yourself as left-wing.
experience many of the exact same frustrations that she has been having with literature, and it's because like there is this wokeness in literature right now.
You look, her issue is that a bigoted movement can't write anything of worth. There can be no depth to it. The KKK tried to do it with Birth of a Nation. It failed. Right? You can't write bigotry and have it say anything worthwhile.
That just like is it's not like really woke. It's not like actually pushing any boundaries. It's not really challenging the status quo. Like there is
Well, of course not. Feminists are the status quo. You're in charge. You set the status.
this terminal kind of risk aversion. I think one of the comments on the video mentioned that
It's not risk aversion. They're propagandists. They're pushing their propaganda. So do you. You're simply very bad at it, I guess. So they're not giving you pats in the back, and that's what your issue is.
is going on in a lot of
These women bravely show their bigotry.
recently published literature, including critically acclaimed stuff, and she mentions this. And this like severe just like limitation of what you are allowed to say and express in literature. Millions of different factors involved in this. The publishing companies being risk averse, book talk making people only want to sell to people who fucking hate reading, oversimplification of everybody's opinions from spending too much time online, and everyone
It's not about being online. Feminism is a hate movement, and hate is simple. There's no depth to it.
becoming more and more of an extremist, and so now you have to pander to extremists on either side of the spectrum who do not allow for any nuance in their opinions.
Well, you're a feminist, so you are an extremist. You're a far-right extremist.
And she calls out specifically this lack of a lack of valuing of earnestness or honesty or bravery or courage.
Well, feminists are cowards, that's for sure. But they are earnest and honest about their bigotry.
A long time ago, I think I mentioned, maybe it was in a Literary Losers episode, but I mentioned that there is this odd, like, sometimes I watch old movies. Like, you watch, like, and this is, like, movies from any different fucking background. So
Something of worth, then. Right.
I group like Schindler's List in with the original Lion King and like Dances with Wolves and a couple of other things as
Yeah, you're the opposite of Schindler's List. Schindler's List was a movie about a good man who did good things. You can't do this. Your group is a hate movement. You're not good people. And you don't want to show men succeed or be good. So you could never write Schindler's List.
like movies that emulate this thing that I also think is missing from recent literature, which is this certain values that like are no longer expressed or even like latently present in a lot of literature. She describes a lot of modern literature as being in this kind of circle jerk, where you pick up a book to
It's not modern, it's feminist, right?
prove how good of a person you are, according to having all the right opinions. But the book isn't really like exploring anything. And I wanted to do a response to that video.
What is there to explore? Again, bigotry is very simple. And also, you as a writer, you're a woman, you have no issues. There can't be any depth to your writing. Depth requires tribulation. You want to write something of depth? Go down to the streets and find homeless men. Let them tell you their stories. Then you'd have something to write about.
Because I wanted to do like a yes and. There is a really, really good essay by one of my favorite authors who stopped writing in 2012. I don't know if she's ever coming back, but you all know who she is, and her name is Donna Tartt.
I've never heard of her. That's how good she is.
And she wrote an essay called Art and Artifice. I don't remember where it was published originally, but I just read it again today, so it's fresh in my mind. And she is basically talking about the difference between true capital A art and what can be called artifice. So the difference between art and propaganda, the difference between art and advertising, and the difference between art and pornography, and the difference between...
Here's a couple things. One, if you're a feminist, you are a propagandist. So you can't be a true artist and be a feminist. The other thing is pornography. You gals love your pornography. I have nothing against that, but you got to own it. You know, if you bypass true art for pornography, that's on you.
Between art and just rhetoric. You know, we can get into how the lines can be blurred between those categories, but the takeaway of that essay is that true art with a capital A, has a pulse. True art, she says, is a living, breathing organism that develops lives of its own outside of what the author originally intended. And most importantly, true art, she says, helps people to think with the world, not about it.
What gibberish. What a pretentious thing to say. With the world and not about it. That is gibberish.
With the world, not about it. And this is my frustration, because you might be like, oh, but as a leftist, you must be so happy about all this stuff.
You're not a leftist. Don't try to lump yourself in with us. You are a far-right bigot.
Stuff being published. But no, I'm not, because a lot of times you will have these superficially leftist books that are thinking about the world, and they're trying to just be like, oh, see, that's the correct opinion to have, but they aren't exploring the moment that we are in right now.
Of course not. In order to explore it, you would have to look at men's issue. What's going on right now in this moment is that your hate movement is relentlessly attacking innocent men. And men are suffering. Men are going to war. Men are living in their cars, paying child support. That's what's going on at this moment. Since you're a propagandist, you can't write about that.
And something that really was resonating with me in this video, and that I have been so frustrated about for so long, is that since that moment when things changed in 2015 and when everything digitized...
Again, it's not about being digitized. Feminists took over the platforms. So writing has no depth. Bigots cannot write of anything of worth, I should say.
So much has happened. And there is this just chronic lack of people thinking with the world about what is happening.
That's so cringe.
Everything is...
That is such a cringe thing to say.
Telling you what to think about the world. Everybody has some think piece, you know, being like, oh, I'm going to lay this down and this is the correct thing to think. But how many people are really exploring what it fucking feels like right now?
Wow. What it feels like. How about what things are? That'd be even better. But you can't explore what actually is without exposing your bigotry for what it is. That's why you've got to go by feelings.
You know, book after book after book about abortion.
There you go. See, you gals have no issues. That's why you focus on abortion. What's the abortion issue about? It's about women's desire to have control over life and death of other people. See, if you had a real issue, you would never even talk about abortion. You talk about that issue. But abortion isn't really an issue. It's really a discussion is how come I, a woman, do not have complete control over everyone and everything? I want control of life and death over other people. That's what the abortion issue is about.
No one talking about what it feels like to be.
And of course, it's also an issue that isn't out there. It's not like a war that's happening over there. It's entirely personal, right? So you can't think outside yourself.
A woman, really what it feels like to be a woman in this environment that we have post Roe.
What are you talking about? You can do that. You're a writer, right? Why didn't you write about it? Tell us about your writing. Fictionesque. The reason why this woman doesn't say anything is because she has no issues. There's nothing to write.
Where is it? And as a society, there's no movies, there's no documentaries. Everything is just fucking doomerism, doom scrolling. Like, but there is no one who's like, this is my protagonist, and this is her life, and I'm going to breathe life into her, and we're going to follow how she feels about things and what happens to her. And it's not trying to force you to think any particular thing. It is rooted in earnest feeling.
That would be boring. You can't have a story without conflict. What could be a story like your story? Your story is my life is grand and I have no issues. That would be a very boring book to read.
And it's rooted in a pulse. And every fucking thing, if it is exploring how things feel right now, what it really is just doom scrolling but wrapped up differently, right? Like, there is nobody exploring it as an artist, as an actual artist who doesn't want you to walk away with any specific thing, where what it really is about is that pulse.
So are you admitting that you're not a real artist since nobody's doing it? You're a writer, right?
And how it actually feels to be in this moment. I mean, there were some books that I think did this with the COVID pandemic, and I think Jodi Picoult's I Wish You Were Here. I think that one was at least doing closer to like what I'm talking about here. Where are the great works of literature? There should be some being.
Well, you're looking at feminist literature. They're a bunch of bigots. They can't write anything worth. Stop being a feminist. Stop reading their material. Go find something that's worthwhile.
Written right now, but as someone who has been trapped in the slush pile for 10 years, like, if you write something above 70,000 words, you get talked down to and told, you guys know, like, I'm literally, like, I'm a year away from having a PhD in literature.
Wow, she's been at this for 10 years and she's going to have a PhD, not a bachelor's. Can I ask you, fictionist, were you born into money? Because a PhD means a ton of debt. Do you have a job? So you have all this debt and you still can afford to live by yourself in your own apartment? Man, you are the epitome of a privileged human being.
Not an MFA, but a PhD in literature. So I study the works of the masters, and like this most recent novel, when I was
What a
shopping.
waste of education. So you took up a slot university that would be better off suited to a man who has to make his education produce something for himself. So you're just a complete waste of education. And by the way, fictionesque, you don't need to be educated to write propaganda. You can come right out of high school and write this bullshit that you do.
It around, like I got the only personalized responses that I got, barring one where I pitched it in person to somebody. The only personalized responses that I got were condescending to me and telling me that they weren't even going to look at my work because my work was too long.
Was it too long or is that it was bloated? Were these people critiquing it editors? It was probably bloated, right? And also, here you are guys like these, my fellow feminist writers, they don't recognize my genius.
But now I have a question. We're kind of dealing with a lot of shit right now. You guys know me, like,
You're not dealing with any shit. Your life is gravy. What shit do you deal with?
as the big book defender, and this is not me being like, oh, you shouldn't have any order to your plot or anything like that, but with issues this fucking complex, and if we are seeking that.
What are those issues? Like what? Again, guys, notice this woman can never be specific because then we'd be able to measure it and say whether it was bullshit or not.
Pulse in literature, if we want literature that breathes, can we always do that in 70,000 words? Can we do that at this point?
Well, it's not so much the blow, it's that you're a propagandist. So it can never breathe. It can never be uh, anything of quality, right?
How the hell are new writers like myself, which I'm not even new anymore at this point. I mean, I can publish, what's crazy is I can publish short stories fine. Honestly, you guys, when I shopped around my first novel, and it was way more playing it safe, and it just, honestly, like, I love my first novel, but it's my first pancake.
So she's managed to do short stories. Yeah. You don't need any brain power or talent to write propaganda, right? So if you're going to write propaganda, keep it short. That's what your fellow feminists are saying.
Well, I feel like it was not capital A art like Tart talks about in that essay. And I got so much attention from agents on that. I didn't get one, but I got the attention and I was praised for it. But now.
Yeah, you said all the right things. What you claimed earlier, right? You're a feminist, you're a bigot, you wrote all the bigoted propaganda, and they praised you, right? But you just lack the talent to be top dog.
Now I found that
You are not agent worthy.
as my writing has advanced, I can't even get an email back unless it's to condescend to me about how clueless I am.
Well, you might actually just be clueless, right? Did you ever consider just getting a real job?
And how I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know, you guys. Like, This is not me trying to like complain or be a sore loser.
Yeah, you aren't trying, you're succeeding. That's exactly what you're doing. Look, fictionesque. You're just a talentless bum. It's nothing wrong with that. Just get on with your life. I don't know how you're paying the bills. It doesn't look like you have a job. But if you can live a good life like you're doing without working, then this is the best.
Because I am aware that there are also many flaws with traditional publishing. So I have come
See, there's all these flaws in traditional publishing. They didn't accept me. Oh, jeez.
to terms with the fact that it's possible that there, I mean, indie publishing is really growing, that there will be an indie publishing revolution, and that the people.
You hear that, guys? She's talking about indie publishing. So you're admitting, fictionesque, that feminism is mainstream. Thank you for admitting that. And strangely enough, uh, writing has turned to shit once your hate movement became mainstream. What a coincidence.
Who are doing real art are going to just have to do it indie and do it by themselves. So I don't want this to sound like, pee pee poo poo, poor me, like,
It's too late for that.
at this point, I'm grown and I stand by my work and I know what I'm doing. And I just want to say that if you are getting frustrated with books thinking about the world and not with it, I'm the one you
That is so cringe.
want. I'm the one you want. I have something coming.
See, I'm the one you want. People, they just don't, these troglodytes, these Philistines just don't recognize my genius.
Coming out later this year that I think you will like. If you want something that values your time and that thinks with the world, not about it, and that is complex in its morality.
There's nothing moral about a hate movement. It's completely immoral. And there can be nothing complex about it. Hatred is very simple. Bigotry is very simple. Very simple and lizard brained.
Even if I try to rage bait a little bit on the marketing, so don't be mad at me. I'm the one you want, and I gotta say, you guys, I'm working on novel 3 right now, and that one is going to take a similar response too. I know we are all so sick of people just trying to fucking sell us shit, but I think I have something to contribute here, and the publishing industry is not giving it to me.
See, the publishing industry, they just don't recognize my genius, you know?
So I am just going to plug myself and my work. This is not out yet, but it will be soon. If you want the update when it comes out, then subscribe, I guess. But I'm just going to say fall equinox check back here, because I think that I have something different and provocative to say.
Well, you'd be lying to yourself. Again, there's nothing of worth will come from a bigot.
And my goal is not to finger wag as a leftist, but
Again, you're not a leftist. You're a right winger. That's what feminism is. It's right wing. It's traditionalist. You gals keep men in their gender roles. You are right wing.
rather to, naturally some of my own opinions will kind of come through, just because that's how writing works. But my first priority is to craft characters who feel like people and who are feeling and thinking beings. not who are just there as like, oh, that's the good leftist and that is the bad, like that's not what I'm going to do. In fact, I'm going to spoil one small thing and tell you that the main character of this novel
Be ready for
is
it.
a leftist and a very, very bad person. He
But
sucks. He
he
sucks.
sucks. Did you hear that? He sucks. So you're going to do something totally new. You're going to take a male feminist and say, you find him a disgusting person, right? It's not she. That would be really breaking the barrier, wouldn't it? She is a leftist, she's a feminist, and she's a bad person. That would really be breaking the mold and being honest. So you're writing just more feminist propaganda against men. Wow. That's so original.
And I don't know. If people want like information on my reading tastes, if you're new here, like my main inspirations for my writing are Donna Tartt, Flannery O'Connor, Jane Austen. Like those are the not so
You know what feminism rhymes reminds me of? The monster from the thing, right? The entity from the thing, the alien. It's a monster that grabs hold of another organism, absorbs it, and then takes its identity, all the while that it's a monster. That's what feminism is. Hey, you know what? If you want to make a great story, write about a feminist, but do it like that Bateman guy. What's that movie where the guy's a psychopath and he suffers from being empty? Kristen Bale plays him, and he's peeling the mask off, and underneath the mask is another mask. That's what feminism is. You could do the feminist version of that. You could be that. You could be the new Bateman. How you look in the mirror and say, you might touch me, but I'm really just not there.
much of Austen in this new novel, I don't think. But like those are the writers that not like overly trying to emulate their style, but the writers that I think are frankly just the best of the best. And I think there are different things in each of them that I find intriguing. I don't know. I've plugged indie books on this channel
Right.
before. It's so funny reading indie books and being like, oh, like there it is. Like even fluffy stuff. People are
I find most indie shit. Right. That's why it doesn't get to be mainstream.
writing books about hope and that things that conceptualize of these like complex world problems.
You don't have any complex world problems, though. Your life is on cheat mode, not just easy mode, cheat mode. So how are you going to write about those?
Without this just self-loathing that you see when you're in Barnes and Noble. Do we not like just as a society have a responsibility to make sure that literature doesn't die? Do we not have a responsibility to be writing about these issues in a complex way? Because I don't think the culture wars would be proliferate.
It's not a culture war. It's just women attacking men. You want to do something about the culture wars, just quit attacking us. Your hatred of us guys is totally undeserved. You're the bad guys. In this case, the bad girls. You're the bad people. Cease being bad. Problem solved.
In the way that they are if we had more people who were writing about what it feels like right now and writing about what it feels like in an honest way.
Okay, let's hear some of it. You're a writer, right? Why don't you write about it? Right? Hey, you're doing a video, right? Why can't you just speak about it now? How are you feeling about today? What are your deep issues that are so complex?
That's not trying to
If you can't even talk about it, what makes you think that you're going to write about it?
sell your feelings as the correct feelings, really approaching it from that perspective and having some kind of morality that just goes beyond like which way that you vote. Like, you know, if you're trying to articulate why a certain thing is evil, you need to articulate why the thing is evil.
Well, that's really complex. Why something is evil? That sounds actually very simplistic. I thought this was going to be complex and nuanced. Notice, guys, when someone ever brings up those terms, those words, nuanced and complex, they usually mean the exact opposite.
You know, for me, if I'm writing about a feminist issue,
There you go. She admits it. She's a feminist. There are no feminist issues. Again, men would love to have your lifestyle. The average guy would love to be you. Trouble-free, issue-free. He's got his own apartment. The opposite sex wants to bang you. You have female friends. The wars that go on, you don't have to worry about it. You're never going to be conscripted. Your life is the best life any man could want.
I need to explore the morality underneath just saying this is good because it's feminist. Like
That would be a lie, though. Your hate movement is evil.
you can't just be saying like finger wagging at people, "Oh, you don't believe this? Well, then you suck." Like you need to if you're going to portray
Well, you're a feminist. You got to own that. That's what you do.
a character as a bad person, you need to explain and make it clear why they're a bad person instead of just pointing to their politics and saying, "Well, there, I told you." Like so many books that I've picked up and
Well, you actually just say, hey, they're male. And that's why they're a bad person. Just like the KKK says that about minority races, right? They're bad because they were born dark-skinned. You're the same way. The guy was born with male genitalia, so he's a bad person. That's the depth and complexity and nuance of your arguments.
I've learned not to buy these to not to blind buy. I get
Oh,
them
sorry, not arguments, ideology.
from the library now, but like where it's just like, oh, we're signaling this character is a bad person because, you know, she makes some weird comment about pronouns or something.
There you go. She said she this time because that's your giant issue. That's the only thing you have to face is infighting amongst your fellow feminists, right? You know, do we support our trans attack dogs or do we reject them? That's your giant issue, fighting with your fellow feminist.
I don't know. I mean, this is how we live now, I guess. No
I really wish feminists did have enemies, but everyone accepts you. Right.
interest in any person's interiority. Everything is just about you've one fuck up is all it takes.
Right.
You know, even on my first novel, I got a lot of criticism for oh, all of your characters, they're too mean is like the criticism that I got. And they were just flawed people. I mean, I'm not like trying to be like, oh, all of my characters are disasters and quirky. Like, it's not like that. It's just, I just try to write characters that are like flawed people. I don't know. I think we are at this point now where people are like, you really
Well, like that guy you said who was a bad person. That guy who was a leftist, who was really a bad person. He's just flawed, right?
are either with the enemy or with the hero, and that's the only way they think. And literature is not helping this right now.
Well, it's feminist controlled, so of course literature sucks.
And it needs to. If you're out there and you're like, I want to be a Jane Austen, or I want to be like you want to be
Jane Austen, by the way, can't be written anymore. For one thing, Jane Austen's writings, it was all about a low status woman shacking up with a high status man. and becoming high status. That was the ultimate dream for women in the past. Find a man with money and I don't have to work anymore. That was the dream. It doesn't work now because do you need a man to live your easy lifestyle? No, you don't. You can do it without us now. That's why, as much as women like Jane Austen, she doesn't have the same compelling feel to them, right? That's an odd way of me saying it. She's not as compelling to them because women can leech off men indirectly now. They don't have to partner up with a high status man, but they still want to from time to time, right? That's why girls still read her books, right?
Like a big writer who has something serious to say about the world. Like, we need more of those. Don't worry about, like, oh, I have to write to market to get an agent. Like,
By the way, Jane Austen had nothing to say about the world. All her novels were female fantasies about gaining status.
will I sell out someday to try to make that deal with the devil? Maybe I will. But I'm not promising that I won't. It is what it is. That's what you need.
But this has nothing to do with selling out. You just suck as a writer. You just lack talent. That's your hurdle.
For visibility a lot of the time. If you don't want to sell your soul posting to social media and becoming brain rotted in the same way you would if you got what I'm trying to say. We need more capital A art right now. I think this is a very big problem. And I do think that the people who are the gatekeepers of literature.
There you go. They're not just people, they're other women. You're in a foot race, fictionesque, and only one person can be the winner and everyone else is a loser. So you have women that already have those positions, the top positions. They're not going to move over and give it to you.
I'm not saying that like this has to be for me.
Oh, by the way, this is feminists are all about releasing all the bindings that held women down and women could rise to the top. And it turns out to be a lie, doesn't it?
As a reader would just be happy to see more of it published.
You can't be a status seeker and not have other people beneath you. The whole point of status is that you're above other people. So there's not going to be women are all there together for each other. No, no. You are where you're at, first because you're a talentless bum, but also because these gatekeepers, they're saying, no, I'm the best woman. You're an example of a woman beneath you, beneath her, right?
In general, we need more capital A art being published. Art as Tart describes it in that article. Not artifice, not propaganda, not advertising.
How can you be a feminist and not be a propagandist? You can't. That's what feminism is. Are you going to quit being a feminist?
Not this like narcissistic navel gazing about how.
Again, that's what feminists are. They're narcissists. Matter of fact, it's not just feminists. The average woman is a narcissist. Again, look at your lifestyle. Do you care about the downtrodden? No. You're living a perfectly good life that men would drool for. And your big complaint is people don't recognize how great you are. Isn't that narcissism?
How postmodern we are or how little we care. I don't know. More art by people who care, maybe. This is my response. I don't want this to get too long because it's already getting too long and I feel like
it's too late. Lady, you have rambled for 20 minutes. It only takes you like 2 minutes to say, I'm a genius and they're not recognizing it. And I'm pissed off over that.
I'm rambling, but all I have to say is that I think I have something to add to this. I wanted to add Tart's.
Like what? What do you want to add? Say it.
essay to the conversation to point out like a little bit more of where this discrepancy I think lies. Um and I think that's it. Leave me a comment with your thoughts on this.
Okay, I did fictionesque. Let's see if it's still there. Well, maybe it's not. Let's see. Yeah, there I am. I'm curious, why would you expect liberal writing from fem writers when feminism is a far-right movement? Yeah, I said that. Let's see if you actually respond to that comment. Anyway, we'll end the video here, and it just goes to show you, like, the narcissism of the average woman. The average woman is a feminist. So, I mean, no matter how many times I've said that word, I'm just really talking about the opposite sex in general. I mean, guys, look at this woman. She's got the best life ever, and she has no issues. And all she can do is complain that she's not being praised for being a talentless bum. Okay, see you around.